Welcome to today's show. My name is John. As always, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, formerly known as iTunes, or follow the links to social media in the podcast show notes. So please subscribe when you're finished listening. You can also go to snarkymoviereviews.com to read notes, bios, and other random movie thoughts. Today's movie is Voodoo Man 1944, and God is it bad. I mean, it's really bad. But I wasn't prepared for how bad it was. Did I mention that it was bad? This movie has a 5.6 rating on IMDb and a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. But to be fair, it has the year listed as 2009 and doesn't have many reviews. If you look on the interwebs, there's a lot of debate over whether this movie is a comedy or classic horror. I'm going to treat it as a comedy, and I think we can all enjoy it a little more. Why do I think it's a comedy? The head voodoo priest runs a gas station. They use Batman props to lure single women off the road. They wear wizard costumes while performing their ceremonies. John Carradine's character is described as walking like he went to the bathroom in his pants. He also looks like a crazy person when playing the bongos, and it seems that he may have combed his hair with a fish. They reference their own movie in the story and recommend Bela Lugosi for the part. The male lead is knocked out during the final scenes. Ralph addresses his producer as SK. The film's producer was Sam Katzman. Ralph is a scriptwriter for the Banner Motion Picture Company. Banner Productions is the real name of the production company that made the film for Monogram Pictures, a Poverty Row studio that eventually became Allied Artists Picture Corporation. So let's jump into the returning actors and the rather weak cast of supporting actors.
Right, and I'm a Shakespearean actor.
Bela Lugosi was cast as Dr. Richard Marlowe, a man trying to revive his dead wife. The great Bela Lugosi was covered in Episode 6, The Wolf Man, 1941. John Carradine played the odd role of Toby, assistant to Dr. Marlowe. Carradine was first covered in Episode 12, Billy the Kid vs. Dracula, 1966. George Zucco played Nicholas, the voodoo priest. Zucco was first covered in Episode 127, The Mummy's Hand, 1940. Wanda McKay played Betty Benton. McKay was born in 1915 and was a beauty queen that turned to acting. She was Miss American Aviation in 1938. She is best known for being married to Hoagie Carmichael, who was a singer and piano player in The Best Years of Our Lives, 1946. Some of her movies include Bowery at Midnight, 1942 with Bela Lugosi, Corregidor, 1943, The Black Raven, 1943, Voodoo Man, 1944, Leave It to the Irish, 1944, Bella the Yukon, 1944, Kilroy Was Here, 1947, Jungle Goddess, 1948, and Because of Eve, 1948. McKay died in 1996. Louise Curry played Stella Saunders. Curry was born in 1913 and was a model turned actress. Some of her movies include Citizen Kane, 1941, The Ape Man, 1943, Voodoo Man, 1944, Guntown, 1946, Backlash, 1947, and The Chinese Ring, 1947. She intentionally limited the roles she accepted and left movies in the 1950s to decorate houses that her husband remodeled. She died in 2013. Todd Andrews played Ralph Dawson. Andrews was born in 1914 and was active as a character actor from 1941 onward. After graduating from Washington State University, he did stage work at the Pasadena Playhouse. He signed a contract with Warner Brothers and played juveniles in films. I remember him from dying very quickly in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970. Other movies include They Died with Their Boots On, 1941, Action in the North Atlantic, 1943, The Voodoo Man, 1944, From Hell It Came, 1957, In Harm's Way, 1965, and Hang 'em High, 1968. Andrews died in 1972. Ellen Hall played Miss Evelyn Marlowe. Hall was born in 1922. She was an American actress that had only 19 acting credits. Her most famous role was The Voodoo Man, 1944, although she was dead during most of the film. Hall died in 1994. Henry Hall played the sheriff and is the real hero of the story. He was born in 1876 and is best known for pre-World War II westerns. Hall was in almost 250 movies and shows. His best-known movies are Sagebrush Trail, 1933, The Desert Trail, 1935, Paradise Canyon, 1935 with John Wayne, and The Ape Man, 1943. Hall died in 1954. Dan White played Deputy Elmer. White was born in 1908 and acted in over 300 movies. White was in The Rainmaker, 1956 as an uncredited deputy, Touch of Evil, 1958 as an uncredited customs officer, Band of Angels, 1957, Attack of the Giant Leeches, 1959, that I have to see, Lonely Are the Brave, 1962 as an uncredited convict, To Kill a Mockingbird, 1962 as a mob leader, Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter, 1966, and The Cheyenne Social Club, 1970 as an uncredited barfly. It continues back like this. White died in 1980. Story.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
A woman pulls into a mobile gas station. The red Pegasus is shown on the pumps. She asks directions from gas station owner Nicholas, George Zucco.
Yes, miss?
Will you please tell me, is this the right road to Twin Falls?
That's right. You're a stranger in this part of the country, aren't you?
Well, sort of.
Now, you keep right on going till you come to a fork in the road. That's about 4 miles from here. Then turn right. There may be a detour sign between here and there. They've been fixing the road.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nicholas has a bat phone that he uses to let someone know that the woman is coming their way. On a dark road, 2 men, Toby, John Carradine, and Grego, Pat McKay, slide a bush away, again Batman style, and place a detour sign on the road. When the lady arrives, she takes the detour. A hand is shown flipping a switch, and electrical things pulse. The lady's car goes dead. This sure seems like an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, but these were not widely known until after the atomic bombs were dropped on Japan at the end of World War II. Anyway, Toby and Grego grab her and drag her away. Toby creepily pets her hair. A newspaper shows that she is the 3rd girl to go missing in a month. At Banner Motion Picture Company, producer S.K., John Ince, calls in writer Ralph Dawson, Todd Anderson. S.K. wants a script based on the kidnapped girls. Ralph says he needs 2 weeks off to get married.
Did you send for me, S.K.?
Oh, yes. This news item about missing girls ought to work out. An interesting story. Kind of a horror picture, you know.
But S.K., I'm supposed to get 2 weeks off. I'm going to get married.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about it. I'm sorry. Skip it. I'll get one of the other boys to tackle it.
Well, if you're in no hurry, I could knock it out when I got back.
One night, Ralph pulls into the same mobile station. He asks the attendant to put 6 gallons of gas in his car. The attendant says it will take 2 coupons.
Nice weather we're having for this time of year.
Give me 6 gallons, please.
6 gallons?
Yes.
Gee, that's 2 coupons, besides the money.
Since the movie was filmed during World War II, gas was still rationed and you were required to turn in government-issued coupons when making a purchase. The attendant gets busy washing the windshield and checking the oil. Yes, they used to do that as part of the purchase. He fails to put the gas in and Ralph drives away. Ralph runs out of gas just before the kidnap area. About this time, another solo woman driver, Stella, Louise Curry, pulls into the gas station. This time, Nicholas goes to talk to the female. He sends the attendant away and uses the bat phone to call someone that he refers to as Doctor. Stella picks up Ralph and they begin talking. They discover that Stella is to be the maid of honor at her cousin's wedding. The cousin is Betty Benton, Wanda McKay, the woman that is marrying Ralph. Since they are expecting a lone female, the hedge trap has been set. Dr. Robert Marlowe, Bela Lugosi, is the one in the house controlling the EMP. The car goes dead. Marlowe can see on his hidden camera system that there are 2 people. Ralph checks the car while Toby and Grego hide in the bushes. Ralph goes to Marlowe's house for help and Stella waits in the car. They grab Stella and Toby starts talking about what a pretty one she is. They take her into the bat cave with an electronic door. Ralph is chased away from the house by the housekeeper, Maria. They take Stella upstairs to Marlowe. He says for Nicholas to make the preparations. Marlowe uses his Dracula powers to control Stella's mind. Stella is taken to a room where Maria and Marlowe's dead wife, Ellen Hall, are waiting.
Evelyn, my dear, I brought a young lady to help you. My wife. This young lady may be able to help you.
Is your wife ill?
She's dead.
Marlowe wants to bring his wife back to life. Marlowe has to reinforce his hypnotism. Ralph goes back to where the car should be and finds it and Stella are gone. He is angry and begins walking towards Betty's house. Betty welcomes him in, but he is mad about Stella leaving him. But Stella has not arrived yet. Toby and Grego have removed the detour and put the bushes back. Stella is put in a room by Marlowe and she screams. At midnight, Betty, her mother, and Ralph are still waiting for Stella. Betty and Ralph go to talk to the police. Back at Marlowe's house, they are getting ready for the voodoo ceremony. Marlowe and Nicholas put on fake wizard robes complete with stars and symbols. Nicholas says it will work this time, and Rambuna is all-powerful. Toby is sent to get the zombies, and there are 4 women in white robes behind glass doors. Toby leads the group to the ceremony. Marlowe brings Stella to the ceremony, but she is still in her street clothes. The dead Evelyn is led in by Maria and sits facing Stella in the chair. Nicholas puts on an African headdress and begins the chanting. Ropes magically tie themselves into a square knot, the joining knot for Boy Scouts, and Marlowe tries to join Stella and Evelyn's minds. Toby bangs on the bongo drums. Evelyn pops to life and doesn't understand. Marlowe tells her she's alive again. She says together again and dies. Stella slumps but is not dead. Nicholas tells Marlowe that Stella was not the right subject. Ralph and Betty talk to the sheriff, Henry Hall, and tell him the story. The sheriff says his job is becoming a pain in the neck, which I took for a Lugosi pun.
Well, where do you suppose she is then?
Well, that's what we want you to find out.
You know, this is getting a little monotonous. This is the 4th time in the last couple of months a girl's disappeared around here.
Well, what'd you do about it?
Nothing, except kept looking for them. Still looking for the other 3.
Sheriff, this is terrible.
Yes, it is. Sheriff's job in this county used to be a cinch. Now it's a pain in the neck.
They give him the information, and the sheriff really takes note when he hears about the detour. The sheriff says there is no detour and he will look into it. The sheriff takes Deputy Elmer, Dan White, with him to visit Marlowe. Marlowe is treating Evelyn with electronic rays. He mentions that a bright light would destroy Evelyn. Just then the doorbell rings. The sheriff goes inside while Elmer looks around outside. Marlowe tells Maria to take Evelyn to the cellar in case the sheriff wants to search the house. Marlowe gives the sheriff a drink and the phone rings. It is Nicholas saying another woman is coming his way. Marlowe lets Nicholas know that the sheriff is there. Toby goes to check on the zombie girls around the time the sheriff leaves.
I'm going to go see how the young ladies are. Hello. I just came down to see how you are. You look awful pretty. You're the new one here, aren't you? You're the prettiest one we've got. You mustn't come out any further. You shouldn't come out at all. If the master knew you were coming out, he beat me. I just came down to talk to you. Gosh, you got nice pretty hair. Nobody ever talks to me. The master won't talk to me. He doesn't talk to anybody except when he's angry. Yes. I wish you could look at me. Your eyes look so funny. You don't know me, do you?
Toby opens Stella's glass case and begins petting her hair. When Toby hears Marlowe coming, he puts Stella back in her case but does not lock the glass. Stella wanders out of her case and out the secret cave door to the outside. When Toby finds out that Stella is gone, he knows he's in deep doo-doo. Toby and Grego are sent to find her under penalty of death. The sheriff and Elmer find Stella walking on the road in a trance. They take her to Betty's house for identification. They talk to her, but she is not responsive. Ralph says to call a doctor. Toby reports back that he has found out where she is. As the sheriff and Elmer leave, Dr. Marlowe shows up. Betty and Ralph are with Stella. Betty says she looks like a zombie.
You know, she looks like a person that's in a trance.
Yes, doesn't she? That outfit she's wearing, where in the world did she get it?
Search me. Last time I saw her, she had on a sort of a greenish suit.
No, I've seen people act like that in pictures. What do they call them? Zombies or something?
No, honey, there aren't any such people.
When Marlowe looks at Stella, she starts breathing hard, and the young people notice. Marlowe and Nicholas convene the Voodoo gang and begin to summon Stella back to their house. Stella walks cross-country still in her white dress. Toby and Grego go outside and bring her into the Bat Cave. When Stella is brought into the room, Nicholas says, "Rambuna never fails." Back at the other house, Betty finds Stella is missing. Ralph and Betty head over to Marlowe's house. Marlowe says she may have wandered off in a daze. He said his wife that died 22 years earlier had the same issue.
I should have warned you to watch her while she was in that condition.
Well, do you think she could have just wandered off like someone walking in their sleep?
Yes, that's possible. I have known cases like that. My own wife was subject to such spells. That is she.
She's very beautiful.
Yes. And you remind me in many ways of her, my dear.
Marlowe leans in and says Betty reminds him very much of his dead wife. Marlowe calls the sheriff, and Evelyn comes walking down the stairs. Maria grabs her at the door and takes her away. Betty and Ralph head out, having seen the dead woman. Marlowe has one of Betty's gloves that he can now use as a voodoo object. Betty and Ralph stop in a cafe. Nicholas and Marlowe begin the summoning ceremony. Ralph leaves to call the sheriff, and Betty gets into the car and drives to Marlowe's house. Ralph returns and eventually finds out that Betty has left. Ralph gets some info from a guy in a car.
Did you see a blue roadster that was parked there?
You mean with that good-looking blonde girl in it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she just drove off down the street there. I thought she was in a daze or something.
You thought she was in a daze. Listen, pal, I gotta find her. Will you help me out?
Sure.
Okay.
And they head out after Betty. Betty takes the detour and parks her car. Toby and Grego wait at the Bat Cave to take her inside. They are idiots and leave Betty's car outside. The two men find Betty's car, and Ralph sends the driver back to get the sheriff. The entrance to the Bat Cave has been left open, and Ralph goes in. The transformation ceremony begins, and Toby looks crazy on the bongos.
Proceed. Emotion.
Ralph walks into the ceremony and is quickly knocked out by Grego. The sheriff and Elmer arrive at the house and break in. Evelyn comes to life as Betty slumps. The sheriff comes in, guns drawn. Marlowe picks up a machete and the sheriff shoots him. About this time, Ralph wakes up. Evelyn calls for Richard.
Richard,
Evelyn, darling,
where are you?
soon we will be together.
And Marlowe replies that soon they will be together. Marlowe and Evelyn die, and Stella pops out of her trance. 2 weeks later, Ralph drops the script for the new horror film on SK's desk. The title is Voodoo Man. SK asks Ralph to recommend an actor to play Dr. Marlowe, and Ralph suggests Bela Lugosi.
There you are, boss. There's your horror story.
The Voodoo Man, eh? Is it any good?
Well, I don't know about that, but don't tell me it couldn't happen, because it did. Didn't it, honey?
It certainly did.
And another thing, I'm starting my vacation right now. See you in 2 weeks. Come on, honey.
Bye. Who do you think play the part of the Voodoo Man?
Say, why don't you try to get that actor, Bela Lugosi? It's right up his alley.
World famous short summary: don't bring a knife to a gunfight. I hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find connections to social media and email on my site at snarkymoviereviews.com. There are links in the podcast show notes as well. Remember, the show is completely free and independent. All that I ask is that you jump over to Apple Podcasts and give me a review. It really helps the show get found. Beware the Moors.